I'm joined now by Notre Dame's alum, Stan Bowman, who is not only a member of the class of 1995, but also the senior vice president and general manager of the Stanley Cup champion Chicago Blackhawks. Stan, thank you for joining us today. Stan's been with the Hawks now for 15 seasons. In 2010, became the youngest general manager in NHL history to guide an organization to the Stanley Cup. The Blackhawks recently won the Cups in 2013 and again in 2015 a year ago, and could be on their way now to a fourth in just over 7 seasons. Now, Stan, I know you've got a very busy day today with the Game 7 tonight, but again, we thank you for your time this afternoon, and I'm curious, for the hockey fans that grew up, they clearly know that you come from a very prominent hockey family. How does a son of NHL legend Scotty Bowman, originally from Montreal, end up here at Notre Dame?
Well, that's a great question, and it's probably the answer is probably a common one amongst Notre Dame students. I had a neighbor who was his older brother went to Notre Dame, so I was about 12 years old, and I went with him to a football game, and I had never been to the campus before, but I got a chance to see the football team play and also experience what it was like in the dorm life there, and really just walking around the campus, I was hooked. And from that point on, it was my goal to be a student at Notre Dame, and thankfully it worked out. And I had a great 4 years of my life there.
Stan, I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the rise of your career. You came to Notre Dame studying finance and computer applications, but was a career in professional hockey always a part of your game plan?
Well, it's actually, there is a Notre Dame connection to that as well. It was 1992 was my freshman year, and my father was coaching the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they actually had played the Penguins, and the Blackhawks were in the Stanley Cup final that year, and Pittsburgh ended up winning the Stanley Cup, and I was able to drive over with my mom from Notre Dame and see the final game there. And as we were driving back to pack up my stuff and leave school for that year, we start talking about how my school was going and what direction I wanted my life to head in. And I said I really would someday like to work in hockey. I don't think coaching is necessarily my thing. I didn't want to follow in my dad's footsteps that way, but I always hoped that I would find a way to do that. But I realized that you have to have a career as well if that doesn't work out. So I decided to focus on my studies, and I chose that route, and I went and worked for 5 years in the business world. But I decided after doing that for a few years that my passion was really in the game of hockey, and luckily I found my way to the Blackhawks, and the rest is history.
And it's been a very good history, no doubt. You've chosen to bring your team here to the Compton Ice Arena each of the past 3 seasons to open up training camp. I'm curious why you decided to do that, Stan.
Well, actually, originally it was a concept that happened by accident. Back in 2009, my first year as general manager, our team started the season over in Finland as part of a kickoff for the season, and we discovered as a group our team sort of came together a lot. We spent the first week of that training camp over in Finland, and we felt that our guys got together, and they spend a lot of time together when they're on the road, and I thought it might be a nice idea to try to replicate that. And we were deciding how would we do that, and instead of having it in Chicago, we should go somewhere. And I spent a lot of time at hockey games at the new facility, and the Notre Dame training facility there is second to none. I mean, they're the rink itself and the people that are surrounding the rink really do a great job of supporting us. And one thing led to another. We had some discussions, and they were excited about the idea. And I think it really gave us a chance to come together. The first few days of training camp, the guys spent every moment with each other, as opposed to being in Chicago and leaving the rink and going their separate ways. So we really like that part of it. And, of course, being around the campus and, the students was a lot of fun as well.
Stan, I got to ask you about this. During training camp in 2013, you and Blackhawks center Andrew Shaw surprised a few of the students in Keenan Hall, which is your old dorm. Could you tell us about that experience?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I actually had gone for a walk with some other members of the front office, and I was sort of showing them around campus after dinner one night, and we walked by Keenan, and we happened to see a few kids that their window was open. They were playing, a hockey video game, and we kind of just called in and said hello, and they recognized us, and they invited us in. So we went in and talked to him for about 15 minutes, and through the conversation, we asked him who his favorite player was, and he was a kid from Chicago, and he mentioned Andrew Shaw. So we left, and we went back to the meal room, and we happened to run into Andrew, and we sort of told him the story, and he said, "I'd like to meet this guy. Where is he?" And we said, "Well, he's just over here." So we all went together, and I think they were pretty shocked when we came back with Andrew, and he sat down and played the video game with them, and we had a nice visit. So that was it's hopefully a moment those guys will never forget.
That's fantastic. Stan, I got one last thing for you before we let you go. I heard that your father won his first of 14 cups in '73, just a month or so before you were born. So is there any truth to the rumor that you are named after the Stanley Cup?
Yeah, that is true. And the interesting part of that story is that when I was a little kid, my dad would always sort of prompt people to ask him what his name is. And they had told me my middle name was Cup, so I always say my name is Stanley Cup Bowman. And I thought it was the coolest thing in the world, and I didn't know any different until one day when I was about 6 or 7, and we had to go to get an official document, through the government, and they asked for my middle name, and when I said it, my dad said, "No, actually, your middle name's not Cup." And we got in the car, and I was crushed. I didn't understand it because I thought my middle name was Cup. But that's something that sticks with me to this day. That it was great timing that I was born just after he was able to win the Cup.
That is fantastic. Stan, thank you for joining us on Notre Dame Day, and best of luck tonight as you guys take on the Blues in Game 7.
Thank you very much.